Hello and welcome to Food for Thought today. I appreciate you being here. Thank you for taking the time to join us on this devotional today. My name is Jeff Jones, and let's see what God has to say to us today. Wouldn't you agree that timing matters? I mean, it's been said that timing is everything. Timing does matter in our lives. You take sports, for example, golf. The timing of the club hitting the ball is critical to the success of where the ball goes and what you wanted to do with the ball. In football, the timing of the throw from the quarterback to the receiver who is en route is critical to the receiver being able to catch the football. In baseball, the timing of the bat, the batter hitting the ball is critical to the success of hitting the ball. And then the fielder planning his time correctly to catch the ball. It all matters in the success of what was trying to be accomplished. As far as timing goes, you can go on YouTube and you can find probably literally hundreds, if not thousands of videos where people who have gotten out of the way just in time, just before or after the truck lost control, just before or after the tree fell, just before or after the lightning struck. Timing matters. Timing is a big deal in our lives in so many ways. There's a verse in the Bible that is normally reserved for Christmas, and it shouldn't be just reserved for Christmas, but normally it's reserved for Christmas. And this is what I want to talk about today as far as the timing of what's happening in your life and mine. Here's the verse. It's Galatians chapter 4, verse 4. And it says this: "But when the right time had come, God sent his son, born of a woman, born of a virgin, subject to the law." When the right time had come, when the time had fully come, some translations say. Timing matters. You see, the announcement of Jesus Christ was first given, not the birth of Christ, but the announcement of Christ coming was first given way back in the book of Genesis, when God was laying down the law to Adam and Eve as a result of their disobedience. Now, here's what we need to know. God was not the kind of father and the kind of parent who, like a lot of parents today, who said, you know what, if you keep doing that, if you do that one more time, I'm gonna. No, it was the first time of disobedience. God laid down the law. Here are the repercussions, and for the rest of mankind's existence on earth, we would battle the sin nature. There's a verse that backs this up in Genesis 3:15. Here's what it says: "I, God, will cause hostility between you," talking to the serpent, "and the woman, and between your offspring and her offspring. He will strike or crush your head, and you will strike or bruise his heel." Now, this verse isn't talking about the virgin birth of Christ. It's talking about the crucifixion and the resurrection of Christ and what will happen in redemption. But this verse is revealing something is coming. There's going to come a time when a Messiah is going to show up. And throughout the whole Old Testament, God gives various laws and regulations that the Israelites must keep in order to maintain that relationship with God. Now, there's no real agreement, no solid agreement with theologians or archaeologists and all the people that study these kinds of things on how long it took for the Old Testament to take place before the New Testament began. But the safe estimate, somewhere in the neighborhood of 3,000 to 4,000 years, is a pretty safe guess. The Israelites went through every type of life that you could imagine: floods, desert, slavery, mountains, valleys, sicknesses, viruses without vaccines, death, life, everything in between. The Israelites were no different than you and I. They suffered, they experienced joy, they had a lot of hard times, they had great times, they had some terrible times. Solomon was right. There really is nothing new under the sun. So for around 4,000 years, that's what we'll leave that number today. So around 4,000 years, the Israelites lived with the idea and the teaching that there would someday be a Messiah, a deliverer, a ruler that would come from God. And they longed with every fiber in their being for that to happen in their day. But it didn't. It didn't. In fact, Jesus was talking to the disciples one day, and he was talking in Luke chapter 10, verses 23 and 24. It says this: When they were alone, Jesus and his disciples, Jesus turns to his disciples and said, "Blessed are the eyes that see what you have seen, disciples. I tell you, many prophets and kings, they longed to see what you see, but they didn't see it. And they longed to hear what you hear, but they didn't hear it. But when the time was right, when Rome had reached the peak of her power and influence, when civilization had reached the peak of its development, the time was right. Politically, the world was like it had never been before, and really like it will never be again. Intellectually, in Rome and Greece, philosophy and learning were in their prime. Materialistically and morally, there was no pleasure to be denied. Artistically, Rome and Greece, they had no rivals. The fullness of time had been marked by truly disgusting behavior, inhuman cruelty, widespread practice of suicide, blank atheism, and utter despair when the time was fully come and right. The Romans had provided the political and military power and security in the world, as well as a fantastic road system that they could go anywhere they wanted to go. This would allow the gospel to spread more easily and rapidly. The Greeks provided an incredible learning structure that would influence every major culture in the world, including us today. This would help people learn more quickly and easily who Jesus was. The Jews provided the morality and the Messiah. This would transform lives, which would truly impact and influence cultures when the time was right. If you have read the Bible much and you know much about the Bible, you know that Matthew chapter 1 is not the most exciting chapter in the Bible to read. It's just at least the first 16 verses or so. It's a genealogy. It's a list of a lot of names, strange names, weird names, people that we don't know, many of them, most of them we've never met. Maybe we will get to meet in heaven someday, but the fact is that we don't know who most of them are or were. But I'll confess there's a verse in Matthew chapter 1 that is one of my favorite verses in the whole Bible. And it's found in verse number 16. It is the last verse of the genealogy. And here's what it says. Jacob was the father of Joseph, the husband of Mary. Mary gave birth to Jesus, who is the Messiah. Now, that to me, that resonates with me, that when it all comes down and all the list of people, in the end, there is a Messiah. When the time had come, the time was finally right. Now, you women, more specifically, you women who have given birth, you know all too well that the timing of giving birth is very important. How many sleepless nights did you experience because you couldn't get comfortable? How about the days when what you ate gave you some serious heartburn and that gas? Yeah. Maybe you couldn't get the clothes that fit, or even just getting out of the car was quite the just quite the process. There were times you wanted to settle in and just read a good book, but there was something inside you that said otherwise. How many times did you say to anyone and everyone and to no one at all, I just want this thing out? It didn't even have to, at that point, it wasn't recognized as human. It was just, I want this thing out. I believe you meant it. And yet, what you wanted more than anything else for this child, regardless of the pain, regardless of the torments and the infinite number of trips to the bathroom, you wanted a healthy child to be born. The entirety of this message today is to encourage you, not just women who are pregnant, but to encourage you wherever you are in your life. I have no idea what you're going through or for how long you've endured what St. John of the Cross called the dark night of the soul. It may be something as heavy or burdensome as a sickness. It may be the loss of a family or friend in death. Or maybe a child has gone rogue, or the constant inability to make ends meet. Or you may have, like the Apostle Paul, a thorn in your flesh that's beyond your ability to be rid of by yourself. And to you, it feels like the promises of God don't apply because it feels like you're living out the 4,000 years of the Old Testament with no deliverer in sight. I want you to know that God has not abandoned you, regardless of what your eyes tell you. I want you to know that you can trust God even when it looks like there's absolutely no way out of the cul-de-sac into which you have been led. God is in the process of making you into something new and bringing something new out of you. And in doing so, he has to work in ways that we don't always understand. God could not send his son into this world to save us as our Redeemer until the time was right. And when it was right, all of heaven was open for all of humanity. Because the greatest gift ever was given, but there had to be a process leading to that gift. God is still, and he is working all things for your good and his glory. Trust him. God is preparing you. He is shaping you. He is developing you. He is renewing you in the image of Jesus Christ. Here's what James chapter 1, verses 2 to 4 say. Dear brothers and sisters, when troubles of any kind, that includes yours and that includes mine, come your way, consider it an opportunity for great joy. And we say, oh, yeah, right. I don't think so. But he's saying, consider it an opportunity for great joy. For you know that when your faith is tested, not if your faith is tested, but when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow. So let it grow. For when your endurance is fully developed, you will be perfect and complete, needing nothing. I want you to remember that the battle you're fighting as a follower of Jesus Christ is a spiritual battle for control of your life, of your mind, of your heart, of your emotions, of your thoughts. Yes, you may be suffering physically. You may be suffering mentally. You may be suffering emotionally or psychologically. Yes, you may be finding yourself fighting fears that you never fought before, or maybe still fighting fears that you've been fighting for years. I want you to take those fears and I want you to go before Jesus and throw them at the foot of Jesus and do it again and do it again and do it again. Why? Because Satan has no authority over the follower of Jesus Christ. God has given us his word to guide us. He's given us his Holy Spirit to enable us or empower us. And he's given us the privilege of coming to him anywhere, anytime to pray about anything. No problem you have is too big for God or too small for him. And when the time is right, you will see his deliverance. And not only will the circumstance change, but you and we will be changed in the process, because that's ultimately God's goal. You may be screaming, I want this thing out of my life. I want it out. But God is saying the same thing to you, and he's saying the same thing to me that he said to Peter in John chapter 13, verse 7. Jesus said, you don't realize now what I am doing, but later you will understand. Mary may have been the mother of Jesus Christ, the Son of God, but she wasn't exempt from the heartburn, the discomfort, and the excruciating pains of carrying and then delivering the Son of God. But when the time was right, she gave birth. And just like us today, she was never the same. God's timing matters. God is at work in your life today, my friend. It's not always easy, and sometimes it feels absolutely unbearable. I know how you feel. And maybe all you have left is to believe. And even that seems out of reach sometimes. But he's doing something new in your life. And he's doing something new within you that you and I, we wouldn't believe it even if he showed it to us. God's timing matters. You must believe that. You must believe that just as he is working in you and he is allowing the world to get to a place that before he came the first time, he allowed the world to get to where it is. He's allowing the world to get to where it's coming because of the glory of God that will be revealed. He's allowing you and I, but we have power in the Holy Spirit to be able to have victory through the cross of Jesus Christ. There's a song that I love to sing, and I find myself singing it from time to time, especially when it's hitting the fan. What a day that will be when my Jesus I shall see. When he takes me by the hand and leads me through the promised land. All is peace forevermore on that happy golden shore. What a day. What a glorious day that will be. Let God have his perfect work in you. Go before him. Stay before him. Live before him. Weep. Get it out. But enjoy the power and the presence of God. Believe it. His timing matters. Something is being born in you. I hope you have a great day today. I'm praying for you.